So I had the displeasure of watching Tron Ares, and I have a lot to say about it. Now, I already expected this movie to suck, which is why I waited until it came to streaming in a way, or POV, whatever you want to call it, or POV, VOD, and yeah, it wasn't good. So what I want to do for this video is I want to tell you about some of the things I did like. I want to go into all of the major characters and just kind of rant about them. And I want to bring up some highlights or lowlights, if you want to call them, of why it's just kind of like what are we doing here. And that's how I am gonna that's how I'm structuring this video.
Ready? Because there's no going back.
So yeah, let's start off with some of the things I did like about this movie. First off, I think, listen, black and red are my favorite color combination. So the entire Dillinger grid, I'm all about it. I am all about it. It is my vibe. Tron has always looked cool, no matter which version that you're doing, even the original one, which is why I think so many people gravitate towards it. So yeah, black and red, I was like, give me that. And then when they are doing top level, Dillinger is hacking into the other company, but like on the inside, they are doing like an infiltration type mission for them. I was like, this is sick. This is what I think a Tron reboot should be, is that like, all right, cool, we have a top level character who needs to keep hacking into stuff, and then lower level we have the grid and like what again, this is a reboot, what Tron's actually doing inside of the computer system. In like we have a drama up top, but below we have like a Mission Impossible Matrix style movie. I think it would be amazing, but what the hell do I know? Anyways, that infiltration scene was sick. Even when he was like, all right, I'm gonna blow this up, and he just nukes the whole thing. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is what I like. The music hits for me. I was like at some point I was like putting laundry away, and I was like, I forget what scene was playing, what the music was. I was like, okay, we're cooking. You can argue whether Nine Inch Nails did better than Daft Punk or vice versa. I think the music is good in this movie. Again, we're not playing with a lot of good stuff here. I like the music in this movie. Granted, there are some things I'm going to highlight later about the score, but that is for later. And aside from that, I think that's about all I liked about this movie. So again, we're going to get into the nitty gritty of this movie. So before I get into each character and what I really thought about them, biggest sin of this whole thing, not a single Tron in this movie. At least last movie we got Rinsler, who was Tron in he's been like doing his like Darth Vader type thing, but there's not a single Tron in this movie, and I think it could have easily been rectified. So we're gonna start off with the main character, Ares, which is already like, why isn't it Eve? But Tron, or Ares, is our main character, right? Played by Jared Leto. Why Hollywood keeps putting this man in movies, I cannot tell you. He must have something on people in the industry. But sadly, he's not the worst part of this movie, and his acting isn't awful. So it was very strange to be like, well, he's not actually tanking this movie. I actually think Ares is a decent character. The only time I kind of didn't like him is when he's like, oh, Depeche Mode, because we need an 80s reference, because this is an 80s movie. And it's like, brother, you don't like Depeche Mode, get out of here. And the times that he's suddenly like with the car, and then when he gets in the classic Tron cycle, both times he's like, oh, classic.
The Honda Civic 2.0 4-cylinder with 138 horsepower. Classic.
It's like, you shouldn't, like, why are you saying that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. The biggest sin with Ares as a character is that from the jump, he is already acting human. And there's no reason why he's acting human when you see other people like, or you see other, what are they called? We see other like code people like Athena who are just very robotic. And then you have him and he's like, oh, the rain, I wonder what it feels like on my skin. And it's like, what? And I feel like the simple way to fix this is to just have added a couple extra lines, right? Where Dillinger is like, hey, everyone, this is what I'm doing to the investors. And he's like, okay. And he makes Tron, or I keep saying Tron. He makes Ares. And, the one guy's like, oh, is he real? And that's where we see Jared Leto's face for the first time. And then I think you have him make the joke about like, oh, it's raining, you might need an umbrella. And then they're like, oh, and then that's where Dillinger, all he has to say is, hey, early tests, we made him into the real world. He seemed a little too robotic for our board. And so I put in an experimental personality code just so he feels a little more human. Boom. And this then separates him from the other codes. And it explains why he's acting more human and why he eventually goes rogue. Because the Pinocchio had the heart, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever the metaphor is, you know what I'm saying? And it would make sense why he's acting a little different for everyone. Again, it's experimental code. So therefore, this is why he's like, oh, human feelings. I want to feel rain on my skin. Like, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Boom. I just fixed the biggest problem of the movie with like 2 lines of dialogue. Like, I can't fathom why they didn't do this. So yeah, Ares has no arc whatsoever because he wanted to be a real boy and then he becomes a real boy. There's no real reason why he wanted to be a real boy as opposed to everybody else that is a code. But again, the acting wasn't bad. It was just like those classic lines and when he's like mentioning Depeche Mode. And then for some reason, because they made him the main character of the movie, when he's talking to Eve, and instead of us learning about Eve, he keeps being like, this is how you feel. And then she's like, eventually either says like, yeah, or she like shows like, yeah, this is why I feel this type of way. And it's just like,
Anyway, you told your sister that designing games left you feeling hollow, broken. Was it that your work was about entertainment and profits and her work was about improving the human condition? Your text suggests a certain fixation with not being able to live up to her standards, which must have been complicated, especially considering she was the younger sister.
Okay, watch it.
Why? It doesn't make any sense, but by the end of the movie I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care what Ares is doing. Like there's no reason for me to care about him because he is kind of already human and now he seems the same character I saw in the beginning, except now he's flesh and blood. So boring. Moving on, we gotta talk about Eve. Listen, I went on IMDb. I was like, Greta Lee, what have I seen her in? And I think I've only seen her in like side roles and other stuff, but I'm sure she's a good actor. And I was telling my friend, I was like, if you watch this movie, you would think that she is an awful actor.
I cannot believe I'm doing this. Excuse me, do you see this? This is me. If you let me use your cell phone, my assistant will wire you $10,000. I just need your phone.
I don't know if it was the lines, the direction, if they did everything in one take or what, but she is bad in this movie. Like, she is not good at all. And if I saw this for the first time and I'd never seen her before, I was like, tank her career. Like, do not put her in other stuff. So yeah, I don't know what they were doing with her. The part where she's like, hits Athena with the bike and then she sees Athena coming at her like a Terminator and she's like, oh, I gotta just pick up this bike. I'm just like, why would you do the running scene? I know I've heard that running scenes in like movies and shows are like hard to film because of like, I guess, keeping up with the character, but like the run that they have her do, I was just like, oh my god, there's just like nothing about this character that I liked. And again, we didn't really get to spend time with her because every time it seemed like we were gonna spend or get to know her more, it was just Ares being like, this is how you feel. And it's like, oh my god. And there's just so many moments where she's like doing something, I'm like, why would you do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And her story also seemed like she was gonna bring her sister back to life in a way and make her like an AI or something like that. And then they just didn't do anything with that. So it was like, but they wanted me to care that she wanted to do good, but then her sister's dead and she's like, I don't want to do anything now. But they didn't show me that. They're just telling me that. And I'm just like, so you have this character and it's like, hey, you care about this character, but we're not going to let you like get to know her. And she's just kind of here. And it's just like, oh my God. And they had her scream a lot too. I wasn't rooting for her. I think, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I actually wouldn't care if this character like lost, which is not what you want when you're watching a movie. And this is the protagonist. You know what I'm saying? So, Greta Lee, you gotta talk to your managers or something, because this was not it for sure. Let's get into the antagonists of these movies. This movie. So we got Julian, we got Dillinger, the main bad guy. I liked him at first. You know, he is this younger, mogul type. He thinks he got it all figured out, but he's lying to the board. The code only lasts for 29 minutes and then they all die. He's, do anything by any means necessary. I actually was having a decent time with him. I was like, okay, he's doing what he can with the material that he's giving. And it wasn't until Eve escaped from his grid with Ares that I think the character I don't know what happened. Like, he just went out the window. Like, he makes Athena, he gives her the flight suit, and he's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, look at that, that's some cool shit right there, woohoo. And his mom comes over and smacks him in the face, because even I was like, thank God she did that. I was like, why is he acting like he's never constructed anything before? Like,
is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Clearly they've done tests, and we saw in the beginning of the movie that he already made a tank and Ares. So it's like, what am I like? Why are you getting so excited? And I feel like at the end of the movie, he just kind of turns into like a child. And I'm sure you could say like, oh, he's kind of like that in the beginning, but I felt like he was a little more in charge, and then just like towards the end of the movie, he just turns into this like crybaby boy of just like, nothing's going my way. I'm just like, ew, like, get him out of here. His mom, Elizabeth, I have no idea why she's even in this movie. I felt like she was just kind of there, and it's the mom from Sex Education, so a fantastic actor. Yeah, and I just felt like she was there, and I was, she gets stabbed, and I'm just like, okay, am I supposed to feel bad about this? Like, I did a little bit because she was just kind of there, but like, I felt like her whole thing was just like, you just need to demean your son the whole time. And I'm like, I don't know, he kind of seems like a mess already, so I don't need the mom to be there to just be like, yeah, son, you suck, I could have done better, I ran this company better, yada yada yada, whatever. And then for us to come back to her after she gets stabbed like 20 minutes later, which is like, why isn't she dead already? And then be like, this is all your fault. This is like, oh my God, what a waste of a fantastic actor. You know what I mean? Then, talk about another actor, it's just like, why are you even here? We got Kevin Flynn is back. And even his character is like, Ares is like, oh, yeah, like, oh, like, why am I here? Why are you here? He's like, well, I'm here because you here. Which just feels like a commentary on the whole franchise of like, hey man, I'm only here because we're making another movie and they want Jeff Bridges in here. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? Just look at the camera and say it then. And this is where I will throw in the part where I was saying like, okay, hey, we're missing a Tron, right? So Jeff Bridges, first off, I think it's weird for him to look old in this scene off the bat. What I wish they would have done is that they would have had let's make a reference to, Legacy, and have the younger, because CGI is better. I forget what you call it, deep fake version of him, like the younger version of him. And then when he's yapping to Ares about permanence, he's like, oh, you want to live a life. You want to get old. And then we'd have him change into the Jeff Bridges that we know now, the older version, thus showing a sign of like, hey, permanence means like to grow old. Like, is this what you want? Like a representation of like, hey, this is like, you know what you're saying? You get one life, my man. Is this like what you're looking forward to? Getting old and like, you know, moving on and only having a certain amount of time with your life. And you know, he could have yapped about whatever. Again, I don't really think he needed to be in this movie, but I think, you know, before he sends him back, he's like, you know, Ares, you were called Ares like after the god of war or something like that, and then he could have been like, yeah, I guess, and he'd be like, war's not good. I always liked the name Tron. It used to be a name of a good friend of mine, and then Jared Leto's character could have been like, Tron, I like that, and then we could have him not only metaphorically but realistically changed by having, you know, the black and white suit now, and now he's like, I'm not Ares anymore, and I am now Tron. And then we could have been like, okay, this is how we're passing the mantle into doing more movies. Now, would that have made the movie good? No, but at least we would have had a Tron in the Tron movie. You know what I'm saying? And it would have made sense for Jeff Bridges to be old instead of him just randomly being old because they didn't want to use CG to make him look young. I don't know. Again, I also don't think he needed to be here. So I feel like if you're going to be here, you know, have it mean something to the movie rather than him almost be like, I don't know, I'm here because you're here, I guess. Stupid. Getting into the people that are just kind of there. So we got AJ, who is Hassan Minaj, who's just like, okay, I don't know why you pay for, again, these actors if you're not really going to use them. But he felt like the most, like, he should have been in the movie more because he was the guy who's like, I'm the face of the company right now. I'm kind of doing everything for you, even though you're the actual person that should be out here on the stage doing the stuff, like talking to other people. So I felt like the movie should have been a split between whatever she's doing and then him dealing with the consequences of like, hey, the company's going under and like things aren't looking good and you should be here, but you're off doing shenanigans. I need you to like lock in and come back. But they didn't do that at all. So it seemed like something they wanted to set up and then they didn't set it up at all. And then he's helping out in the end. And it just felt like, oh, okay, we have this big name, you know, comedian here because, you know, it's a face that you know. But instead of giving him an actual interesting arc, you just didn't do anything with him. It's like, all right, cool. Eve's assistant, Seth, was not funny. He kept trying to make jokes. It's the guy from Broad City. So I was like, okay, I like the guy, but like, you're not really giving him anything good. And I just kept being like, I don't want him here, like throughout the whole movie. And I was like, he's not funny either, like his character.
So Ares, like, is in the God of War, Ares? Yeah. Cool. You're Greek. That's awesome. So when you say that he's a security program, do you mean he's like...
Yeah, he's not human.
He's not human.
Originated inside a GPU.
Okay, is this for the Christmas video?
Get him out of here. AJ's assistant, Erin, I was like, am I supposed to care about her? She just kind of feels like she's here. I feel like, you know, for the sake of the budget, we could have chopped her out too. So there's just like a lot of like, why is everyone here? Why are we doing any of this? Like, this doesn't feel well thought out, and this is a Disney movie. Like, there's so much money in it, so many people on the production. Like, it boggles my mind. But I forgot to bring her up, and possibly the best character of the movie, Athena. And what I loved about Athena is she was the metaphor for being like, hey, AI like is not good. If you give it, you know, a command like, hey, get this done by any means necessary, she constructs herself without his permission. She kills the mom because she's like, you're in my way. And he's even like, why are you doing this? And he's like, you told me. She's like, you told me to get this done by any means necessary. This is what that looks like.
I am fulfilling my directive. Capture Eve Kim, return her to the grid by any means necessary.
And the movie could have had a forward-facing, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, something to say of being like, hey, AI isn't clearly the answer. There still needs to be a human element to it. And again, if they had added the personality matrix thing that I made up earlier, it would have been like, yeah, you need humans, right? You could use AI, but you also need like a human element to, get everything done. And it would have went also into what Eve was talking about. And she's like, oh, AI can be scary, but we can use it to like, cure people and, do this and like solve hunger and yada, yada, yada. And again, I think Athena could have been the perfect antithesis to that. And I mean, she did what she was given, right? She's very, let me get the job done. Granted, there are times where it's just like, why would she possibly do that? It makes her look, I think almost every move she makes, honestly, it makes her look completely stupid. Which again, if that was the point that the movie was going for, it would have worked. But again, this movie just feels like an absolute mess. But I did like at the end where she is dying and she's like, I did everything I was supposed to. Like, what is your purpose now? And he's like, I don't know. I guess I try to figure it out. And, she fades away. And I was like, oh, I actually do feel bad for her because she is a code, right? She's just doing literally what she's coded to do. And so her death was like completely unnecessary because really, Julian could have went in and like coded her differently, but things got out of hand and everything went crazy. So I was like, okay, she's really just a product of the problem. And again, I think the movie could have said something about all of this, and it chose to do nothing because why would it? Yeah, this movie sucks, dude. But some things I wanted to highlight and kind of coming back to the beginning, the score, right? So the music I liked. The music was bumping. Tron has this problem, and it happened with Legacy because I watched it a little while ago. I was a couple months ago, of where when interesting things are happening, like in Legacy with the Tron bikes, and you would think that the music should be like bumping or like, okay, here we go. They tend to play like a lower BPM type song, and so there's a moment where Eve and Ares are being chased on that little boat and they're being blasted at, and the music is like kind of chill. It almost sounds like they're on like a road trip, and it's like, you're being chased right now and you're acting like, and the score is giving like chill, and it doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna put the clip in here so you guys know what I'm talking about. But it's just like, I don't understand how in the editing process people aren't like, yeah, this isn't giving what you think it's giving. But then they break out of Dillinger's grid, and they steal that truck, right? And they're driving away. They're not being chased at all. And I want you to hear what the score is for this scene where, again, they're not being chased whatsoever. It's just like, I don't like, the simple solution would be to switch the scores of both these scenes, right? But somehow that was completely overlooked, and so you have this really chaotic visually scene with a score that's kind of like, and then you have this scene that they think is like hype, but like nothing's really happening, and it's like, why is the music bumping? Which leads me into the next part. If it's really just Athena's downfall at this point going forward. So she makes her, or Dillinger makes her, right, and he's like, all right, I need you to go get her. And makes the little flight suit thing, and she takes off, and for some reason she never catches up to them. There's never a chase sequence where she is like blasting at them and like, hitting the car with her plane or whatever. She's flying in the air. We even see her like do a little scan, and she's like, okay, cool, I found them, that they're at this gas station. And then she never catches up to them, and I'm like, she's flying, she's not even in traffic. Like, you just get there like super quick. And for some reason, the movie just never addresses this for the sake of plot, because they're like, oh, we need to get to here, so I guess she'll just catch up later. It's like, what? So the next part, right, is where Ares he's like, oh, I'm running out of time, but like Athena's here and she's gonna ruin everything, so I'm gonna sacrifice myself, and thank you for being my friend or whatever. And then they're like, yeah, let's blast him anyways before he does something stupid. And I was like, I like that. And then I expected them to blast Athena into the thing, and then they would fight in the old style grid, and then everything would be chill. They didn't do that. I was like, okay, cool, whatever, I'll let it slide. Athena sees them, right? It's Eve, it's Seth, the machine that sent Ares into the old style Tron grid. And instead of just blasting through the room, she does a little loop-de-loop, goes through, doesn't even make it halfway through the room, and she just crashes, essentially. And then she gets up like it's this big moment, and I'm like, you look so stupid. And I don't know why they chose to put it that way, because it wasn't like even that Eve or Seth had taking her out for her to crash. She just was like, I'm gonna go straight through, and then just didn't have like the durability to blast through the room, which is so dumb, especially in the beginning where Julian's hyping up everything that can come out of the grid, so you would think it would be super strong. And so I'm like, an easy way to fix this scene would be for her to fly straight through the room. They duck down, she breaks the machine, does a loop-de-loop, comes back in, and then lands, and it's like, okay, cool, I need to grab Eve, that's the mission, let me go do that. But for some reason they didn't do that. So again, Athena just straight up crashes into the room for no reason and looks like an idiot. Still sticking with this scene, right? Eve is like, I gotta get out of here. They kept the scene of her like pushing over this little drawer, which does absolutely nothing. They never address that. So she just kind of knocks it over for no reason. And then she starts crawling underneath those arcade machines. And there's clearly enough space for Athena to just wrap around and wait for her to stop crawling, and then kind of wait for her and be like, okay, you really think that was going to work? But instead, she one by one starts throwing their arcade machines, I guess, to show how strong she is. And it's like, what is this? This is so awful. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever logically. And again, I just don't understand how anyone was like, hey, let's keep this in. And then when the sprinklers go off and Athena's like, rain on my skin, I was like, she's supposed to be the robotic one. What should have happened was that Eve, who is the tech person, or one of the tech people, right, should have been like, oh no, I'm trapped. There's nothing I can do. Oh wait, let me hack into the sprinklers. The sprinklers go off. Athena's like, okay, do you really think that was gonna, like, what was the point of that? And then Eve should have been like, sorry, you're out of time. And then we should have seen the counter go down. And then Athena would be like, oh no. And then she like fades because her time was up and because she wasn't paying attention. The sprinklers were just enough time for Eve to save herself. Or, something like that. But again, it just, none of that happened. And this whole movie is just a bunch of like, why are we doing any of this, right? Still sticking with Athena. She comes back at the end in the giant ship, which I can't remember what it's called anymore. And she shoots off like 100 of those things. And I was like, oh no, she's going to blow up a bunch of the city and be like, hey, if you don't like turn yourself in, I'm just going to destroy the city because who's going to stop me? I really took out the jets, you know what I mean? But no, they're just flying around, and then they go find Eve, and it takes way longer than you think it should. And they just kind of like wrap around her, but they still leave her a bunch of space. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just like make a super tight like cage where she like can't go, almost like a coffin where she can't go anywhere? But when you see that that's the point of like getting Eve, it's like, well, we already seen them constantly hack into systems and just like find people. So it's like, why did she send out 1 billion of them if she could easily just be like, oh, Eve's on 5th Street or whatever? And so you just see them all fly. And then when they save the day and all the things just fly out of the air, so like, this is just for spectacle. There's no reason for her to send out 1 bajillion uh, whatever those things were, because I thought they were bombs, and do nothing with them. So again, this whole movie is just like, what the fuck is this? Like, no one got any of this through, and this clearly needed like to be rewritten and like re-edited and just like redone from the top. Like it's one of those things where I watch I watch a bunch of stuff, or like I play games or what have you, and sometimes I'm just like, I can see the better version of this thing that you were trying to give me, and it just needed more time to cook and more people just kind of be like, hey, this doesn't make sense, let's not do this, we need to switch this around, yada yada yada. And so I'm watching this movie, which I'd give like a 6 out of 10. It's not awful, but it's for sure not good. And I can see a 7, maybe even an 8, really, out of 10 out of this movie. And it's just like, cool, we needed to chop these characters. We need to focus on this. We need to do this, this, and that. Some of the things I already said in the beginning. And we could have had a very solid / good Tron movie. And instead, we got this absolute, like, slop of a film. And it's just like, and they already said, like, oh, yeah, we're not going to make any more Tron movies. And it's like, so what was the point? You know what I mean? You just tanked the franchise for funsies? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I watched this just being like, what is, and the thing is, like, I'm not even a Tron fan for real. Like, I like the aesthetics, but this isn't even coming from like a super fan. Like, I ain't got no Tron posters back there, or whatever. But I was just like, Tron is one of those things that's like, oh, it could be so cool if you guys just like took time to understand why people like it and just gave us like a good story. But now this is one of those, another franchise from Disney that it just feels like, oh yeah, we ruined it because what, you could? Like, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna, this is already what, 30 minutes long a video. I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know if you decide to watch Tron Ares and what you think about this movie. Yeah, I just don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm all discombobulated. Until next time, peace.